travel at speeds pushing 200 miles per hour. The very best drivers in the world putting their lives on the line every week. It's time to get the lowdown on this week's contenders, plus a look at the key driver matchups. Right now on Gaughan Racing.
And welcome in, everybody, to Gaughan Racing. Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Motley, the beautiful VSiN studio here in the beautiful South Point Casino, which is going to be open soon, Mr. Motley. We are very excited about that.
Next week, people should see a little bit of a crowd behind us, let's hope.
June 4th is the day that Las Vegas has announced that we are allowed to open, so the casino's all making plans, people scurrying around, cleaning, making sure we're disinfecting, doing all those fun things. But who has returned before the casinos is our lovely NASCAR, which is why we are here.
We've already had 4 races in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, in 11 days. Well, it went to 12 days because, rain.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. They are really struggling with this whole weather thing.
Yeah, I think that tropical depression Bertha kind of screwed everybody up in Charlotte.
It definitely hurt.
It didn't help Darlington the week before either.
But we did have the Coca-Cola 600 on schedule. Actually, amazingly enough, it was run when it was supposed to be run. So we had the Coke 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we had, of course, the Alsco 500. They love to use the K moniker right now because that way it looks like it's a longer race, but it was really only 300 miles. And both races, pretty exciting. Lots of action, lots of things to talk about. Brad Keselowski, let's start with the Coke 600. Brad Keselowski, the big winner there. Definitely not what we expected.
Definitely not the best car. Chase Elliott has been, and we'll talk a little bit more about him later, but he's been the dominant car really since we came back from the break. But, Chase Elliott was in a situation, and you're a driver, and you may have a different opinion, but he's leading the race. And first off, it's unfortunate that it was his teammate, William Byron, who had a tire go down with 2 laps to go. But, to me, he's kind of a sitting duck. If he stays out, then a lot of guys behind him are going to pit, and they're going to have much fresher tires. And if he comes in, and look, he still ended up getting a second place finish.
It's the curse of the leader at that point, Jeff. When you do this, Brad Keselowski had about 8-9 guys stay out. Chase Elliott came in, still got back to second, still a great finish. But that is, look, when you're the leader, that's what happens. That's what you get when you deal with those things. Chase dealt well with it. The team still got a top 3, so if you bet him in the top 3, you still got paid on that one. You didn't get a win money, but you got top 3 money on him. But we got to start with some news from the Coke 600.
Before they even took the green flag.
Before they took the green flag, Denny Hamlin rolled on the track and had 2 pieces of tungsten fall out. Now, I'm going to go driver personal here for a second. That's a big deal.
Well, people don't remember there was a driver a couple years ago named Jamie Dick, I believe, and someone's tungsten came out and it almost completely smashed in his windshield, and it did
killed him.
Serious damage to the
tungsten will go through these windows. That's the one thing we don't like. So Denny, people are debating on how big of a penalty it was, but he got a 4-race suspension for his crew chief, Chris Gabehart, his car chief, Brandon Griffith, and that's really funny. Brandon Griffith isn't his normal car chief, but anyway.
Well, you know what NASCAR's done since with this pandemic is each team has to submit a 16-person roster, including the driver, and everybody has to have a job assigned to it. So whoever is assigned to that job
and Brandon
at the
Griffith
racetrack
was the guy that got that call. Scott Simmons also was thrown out for that.
And he technically was not the engineer because they did not have an engineer on their roster. He was a tire specialist.
That they lost.
I'm not exactly sure what the tire specialist had to do with the tungsten coming out of the car.
Well, listen, everybody's doing jobs they're not used to right now. But it was a huge faux pas.
Waited to like a baseball game when the umpire hears chirping from the dugout and he's not sure who it is. He just points at one guy and says, "Oh, you're out of here."
Yeah, that was probably what. But NASCAR had to do it. 4-race suspensions.
It's in the rule book.
It's in the rule book.
Not even this was.
Yeah, that's not gray area. That's black and white.
Black and white.
So that was big for them, and it put them 8 laps down at the start of the race. So Denny, he was on my fantasy team. That crushed me. I had to put him out right away because, Denny Hamlin was not going to be doing well that day.
8 laps down before he ever even got up to speed.
And then at the end of the race, we were all excited. We all know that here I am biased. I do not play unbiased. I am a Jimmy Johnson guy. And Jimmy Johnson finished second, had the lead on restarts. We were all sitting there going, Mew and I were texting, holy cow, Jimmy looks great. And which is why the Nevada Gaming Control Board always says, hold all tickets until official results. Matter of fact, Isaiah was telling me earlier, a couple offshore books paid out a top 3 finish for Jimmy Johnson which is why Nevada Gaming Control Board is the power of this entity. You don't pay. Jimmy got disqualified. He was second. He got disqualified after the race for being illegal. So if you had Jimmy in the top 3, you were cheering for a moment, and then we're not cheering afterwards.
And we talked about that last year extensively on our show when NASCAR put in that rule that that the official results were going to happen
we talked
at
about
the racetrack.
We talked about it a bunch last year.
But it could be 2 hours after the race before they come out. But that's something that everybody needs to be aware of.
Anybody that's been a horse race fan forever, anybody that's been, they always say, hold all tickets until results are official.
Usually, unless it's a Kentucky Derby a couple years ago, we're a little quicker than NASCAR
quicker.
is with disqualifying.
But that's what we do. Jimmy got disqualified. He got credited with a 40th place finish. So I've actually spoke to Jimmy this week. I co-hosted on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Got to talk to Jimmy, and Jimmy is Jimmy. He goes, look, it was a mistake. It was. I mean, and we're talking tolerances, Jeff, that are as big as this piece of paper.
They didn't appeal, so they obviously knew they were wrong.
It was something that moved, that they wanted to move a little bit, probably moved a little too much. It made them out of tolerance. They will take their penalty and go on down the road. But Jimmy has a resurgence. But bigger for me, Hendrick organization has look at how good Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, now Jimmy Johnson. Is Hendrick back?
And William Byron always runs well early.
And then has something, he fades.
Something seems to happen
but
with him.
Are they back, Jeff? Is Chevrolet and William Byron and the whole Hendrick group,
well,
are they back?
I think the Hendrick group has certainly, if it's not back, it is really close. And I agree, I think the Chevrolets are better. Kurt Busch ran very well in both Charlotte races. He ran well at Darlington in the first race, struggled a little bit in the second Darlington race. And Matt Kenseth, we know he's kind of just getting up to speed. He kind of spun out last night. Really, I think it was because Brad Keselowski slowed down so dramatically in front of him when Brad cut down a tire, and Matt really never recovered from that. But for a guy that's been out of the seat for a year and a half, he's doing a pretty good job coming back as well.
But for the last year, we've been saying that Ganassi was the strongest Chevrolet, and that's all we talked about from Chevy camp really was that. And Toyotas, the Ford, Joe Gibbs organization, the Penske Fords, the Stewart-Haas Fords, we've been talking. Now, all of a sudden in the conversation, at the Coke 600, Tyler Reddick was 7th or 8th, and Austin Dillon 8th or 9th. 2 cars in the top 10.
And they ran well again last night.
I can't tell you the last time 2 Childress cars were in the top 10 in Cup. So, that's a big deal. Austin Dillon last night, 8th place in the Alsco 500. Chevrolet has seen a big bump. I'm not ready to put them in Gibbs-Penske territory, Stuart, but Chase Elliott's proven us wrong.
Well, I think Chase Elliott may be boy, it's hard to just put a label on him that he's the guy to beat right now, because I think it'll be curious to see how does Chase run at Bristol this weekend? How does Chase run at Martinsville? Some of those type tracks. But I think right now on the 1.5 mile tracks, boy, I'm telling you that, or not just 1.5, the intermediates, like Darlington's 1.3. I think Chase Elliott right now, I would make him the favorite. I'll be really curious when we do this show next week to see what the odds makers have for Atlanta.
Well, Chase Elliott was on track to come close to winning at Darlington number 1 and had the Kyle Busch incident. Or is that number 2?
That was number 2.
That was number 2. But ran well the first one, had a chance to win the second one.
May have had the best car at the end of the race until
what happened.
Kyle got together.
Coke 600
was
leading,
clearly the best car.
Clearly the best car. Pulled away from everybody, leading. Has the pit strategy that bit him. Okay, comes back, wins the next one. In the interim, beat Kyle Busch for the bounty
in a truck
for
race.
the $100,000 bounty. Won the truck race. I think there is no one hotter right now in this sport than Chase Elliott.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Like I said, I think Bristol's going to be a little bit of a different animal this weekend. We'll see how he handles that one, but I think we get to Atlanta, and then we're going to have Texas and Kentucky and some of these tracks coming up. Look out. I think he's got to be.
We're unfortunately for us on Gaughan Racing, we don't have the group matchups that we normally have or the head-to-heads.
Yeah, we got to get these midweek races are great for the race fans.
We got
terrible.
We got to get
guys who host radio shows and try to talk betting.
I got to talk to somebody. I got to get an odds maker that's going to start putting up some earlier odds for me.
Can't we tell Chris to come in on the night after the race and just get something that we can use for radio?
I wish I could tell Chris that, but we got to get somebody to do it. But if we look at the group matchups did come up, of course, after we did our show. And if you had Chase Elliott in Wednesday or Thursday's race, the Alsco 500, Chase Elliott to win the race was a plus 550. To win Group A was 245, and they put him in Group A. That's not been the group that Chase Elliott's been in. Putting him in Group A, I think he's deserved of that.
And I think he will be in Group A definitely on these mile-and-a-half tracks for a while.
Absolutely. And how about this? He was the favorite over Kyle Busch and the favorite over Alex Bowman. Bowman, who won one of the mile-and-a-halves earlier this season, or won a race already this season where Chase hadn't.
Yeah, he won at Phoenix, but still.
He was the favorite over him and favorite over Kyle Busch at minus 140.
Well, I think a lot of this was based off of how well he ran in the Coke 600 on Sunday. I mean, I think most people probably went into that race on Thursday night saying Chase is the guy to beat. And I think Kevin Harvick seemed to have the best car for most of the night, and then it just seemed like over the last
at the end,
40 or 50
I thought Harvick
laps,
was conserving fuel.
Yeah, I guess his handling went away over the last maybe 30, 40 laps of that race, and he kind of faded. But I mean, Chase Elliott was pretty much the class of Charlotte this week.
Yeah, and plus 550 to win a race, that had him up near the favorite of that. You know, he was a plus 400, plus 500 is.
He was within a whisker of winning every race he entered at Charlotte. 3 races, it would have been 3 races in 5 days because of the rain out. Should have been 3 and 4 days.
He looked really strong. So I mean, those are some great numbers for Chase Elliott, and you know, redemption over Kyle Busch wrecks him at Darlington, the big news, and then he gets to come back and beat him for the bounty in the truck race, which he did the bow on the front straightaway, which I know folks we're talking about gambling here, but the bow, that's a power move right there.
It's a power move. I think it would have been more powerful had he been able to do that in a race where the grandstands were full of people.
True, but it didn't matter. He took the shot. He took the shot knowing the people weren't there for the TV audience to give Kyle Busch's signature to beat him, and then goes out and crushes the field on the next day or day and a half, to win the next Cup race. I think that boy right there is making a statement.
When he came into the sport, people said he was going to be the next superstar. And, I think we find a lot of these guys, they come in their first few years, they've just been incredible in the lower divisions, and they get up to the Cup Series. Not many people come in and set the world on fire like Kyle Busch did, for example. Kyle Busch came in, and he was red hot his rookie year. But, I mean, we've seen how long it took Joey Logano. Joey Logano had to get fired from Joe Gibbs Racing.
Sliced bread had to get fired before he
got fired from Joe Gibbs Racing. And I just think that sometimes I think at this level, it takes a little while. And I think that's the case in a lot of professional sports. I remember Kobe Bryant. His first couple years with the Lakers was nothing to write home about.
He looked like a bust. Everybody was talking about him being a bust.
But he was also young. He was 18, 19 years old. And Chase Elliott got moved up at a very, very young age. And I think we're starting to see him. He may be starting to turn into that superstar. I mean, I believe if he continues on the path he's going, by the end of this year, he may be the face of NASCAR.
Well, what I want is a little more personality from him. Doing the bow, that's personality.
I think the bow was good. I think, and honestly, him getting out of his car and saluting Kyle as he went by Darlington, I think people wanted to see that. I think he probably gained even more fans. I mean, he's already the most popular driver, but I think that's just part of feeling your place.
No.
And, I know when he came out here to test, when he had not even won a race, and he and I were talking, and he said, he goes, I don't necessarily know why everybody wants to interview me, all this fuss, because I haven't done anything. And I think
Bill Elliott's son.
Well, it was Bill Elliott's son, and he had won in the Xfinity Series. But I think to him, he's sitting there and he's looking around, and
he wanted to prove his own worth.
He's got Jimmy Johnson, and I mean, when he came in, he still got. I think Jeff Gordon was still running when he was out there, and you had Dale Earnhardt Jr. and all these people. Exactly, a lot of big stars out there, and he hadn't won a race yet. He was one of the guys everybody was seeking for this and that because he was Bill Elliott's son. And I think for him, some of his shyness may have been part of it. Now, look, his father, Bill Elliott has never been a great media pizzazz guy at all.
He was the most popular driver.
But he wasn't the most popular driver. Well, there was a guy down in Georgia who I think helped him out a little bit there.
Yeah, a few. But now, Chase Elliott, we're saying he's the hottest guy here. Chevrolets are back. Hendrick is back. We've done these mile and a halves. Now we transition to Bristol. No practice once again. I keep talking about this part, Jeff. I love this no practice.
I think it's.
So we're going to places that are so tough doing it.
I think, and look, I know you're a driver, so I'm not going to discredit you here for a second. But I think the no practice is so much harder on the crew chiefs.
Oh no,
I think the drivers can get into a rhythm pretty quickly.
It's so much harder for the crew chiefs, engineers, and the teams. But what you're missing is the harder for you. makes my life really difficult once I go into turn 1.
Okay, and that's a fair point.
So
that's a fair point.
I understand that it's harder for these guys to set them up, but at the same time, man, it's harder for everybody.
Well, and I think the interesting thing now is I think now that we've seen also that NASCAR has given what the qualifying format is going to be all the way through the end of June, that staying in the top 12 in points is going to become even more important, because if you're in the top 12 in points, you're guaranteed a top 12 starting position. Like Jimmy Johnson fell out of the top 12 in points because of that disqualification at Charlotte. So when they drew for qualifying,
he didn't have a shot at the pole.
Early on
He is
Friday,
automatically the best thing he can get is 13th.
And he drew the last position of the second group. So now he's starting 24th in the field. That disqualification cost him at least 12 starting spots at Bristol. And I think we know Bristol, you go to Charlotte, where you start, okay, you don't really want to start last, but you can overcome that. But if you're starting back in the pack at Bristol, we know the bumping and banging. We know there's always potential for early accidents. And look, if you get stuck behind somebody, that leader that's got no one in front of him, that leader starts catching the rear end of the field in a hurry. And I'm sure Brad Keselowski will lead the first few laps, probably here Almirola. They're starting on the front row. I will guarantee you they'll be putting pressure on the back of the field within 8 to 10 laps at Bristol.
That penalty that he got on Sunday at Charlotte just had repercussions for his Thursday night race, where he had to start in the back and work hard, and Jimmy has not been as strong as a Kyle Busch or Martin Truex coming from the back to the front. And now it still has a repercussion going to Bristol, where now, like you said, he's starting 24th because
he was out of the top 12, so he was in the 13 to 24 draw. And look, this could carry over all the way into Atlanta and the next week if he doesn't climb his way out.
Let's give you the top 10 as we draw here for Bristol. What we got in the starting 5. You said Brad Keselowski, he got the pole.
Brad Keselowski and Eric Almirola are on the front row.
We got Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, second row, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott. Great job by Isaiah and the crew back there on switching things for us really quickly.
Yes.
Martin Truex, Chase Elliott in row 3, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and then Matt DiBenedetto and Denny Hamlin. How about Matt DiBenedetto at Bristol starting in the top 10 because of, once again, how well that 21 team has been? They're top 12 in points.
Matt DiBenedetto was the best car at Bristol last fall.
Yes, no absolutely.
Question. And he obviously he got a fender into a lap car and really kind of slowed him down. And Denny Hamlin, I think, passed him with about 8 or 10 laps to go.
I've never seen a guy win a race and be so sad that he passed a guy to win a race as Denny Hamlin was.
Yeah, and I was down there working that race, and I was with Matt after the race, and Matt wanted to go up into victory lane and congratulate Denny. And when Matt went over to congratulate Denny, Denny was actually congratulating Matt. He's like, this was your race. It was a real bromance that was going on.
Well, for those that don't remember, Matt DiBenedetto has had a history of trying to live in the sport. Denny Hamlin was a big part of that. Paid money even to keep him racing at one point. And Bristol has been a great place for Matt. So when we get into the odds in the next segments, I'll tell you what, Matt DiBenedetto could be a force here, and we're going to talk a lot more about him. But so there's your top 10. You want to hear a good one about this? We're talking about Jimmy Johnson, who ended up starting 24th. In the last 10 races for fantasy points, guess who's the number 1 point getter?
The last 10 races?
Yeah.
So we got to
go at Bristol.
At Bristol.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we go back 10 races at Bristol.
10 races at Bristol.
I know, but okay. You're going to tell me it's Jimmy?
7 top 10s in the last 10 races. The only other driver with 7 top 10s.
What's he done in the last 4 races?
Hold, please. I'll give you that right now.
Okay.
Last 4 races is now he had 19th, which in the race last spring or last fall, but he was 10th, 9th, 3rd, 11th, and 1st. He's not been bad even during the down era of Jimmy Johnson at those things. But what you got to look at, here's where the qualifying thing mattered. 17th, 13th, 10th, he started 30th in the fall and finished 19th. He's starting 23rd.
23rd, 24th.
23rd, 24th.
Yeah, he drew the last position of the second group.
Of his second group. So that, once again, the repercussions of that are big.
And you know who has benefited from this, too, is by running well lately is Kurt Busch, who Kurt was in the 13 through 24 group.
Has bumped himself up,
and he's bumped himself up into the top 12. He and Matt DiBenedetto have both moved up into the top 12. And I tell you, I don't think we can understate how important that's going to be going forward, at least
Especially
for
if
the
you're drawing.
at least through the end of June. Until
While
we
we're
get to
drawing
Pocono
for
in
qualifying, that's a big deal. And to round out that first group, Alex Bowman was 11th and Kurt Busch was 12th. Those are the ones that got to draw in that segment.
Correct.
Then you start the second one. William Byron won the pole, so to speak, for the second group. Matt Kenseth going to start outside him. Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. after a phenomenal run at Charlotte in the Alsco 500 for Ricky Stenhouse. Oh, my God, JTG, phenomenal finish for them. Ryan Newman, John Hunter Nemechek, Chris Buescher, and Austin Dillon, they ran out your top 20.
John Hunter Nemechek, you'll keep talking about him. Now,
he could bump himself up into that top
right
12
now,
soon.
It's John Hunter Nemechek and Tyler Reddick for Rookie of the Year. And I know everybody came into this year thinking it was Christopher Bell, Cole Custer, and Tyler Reddick. But to me, right now, it's Tyler Reddick and John Hunter Nemechek, and Christopher Bell and Cole Custer have got a lot of catching up to do.
I cannot disagree. I mean, Christopher Bell had a flash of brilliance in the Coke 600, but other than that, right now, John Hunter, he was the rookie in the Alsco 500. He was the rookie at Darlington. I mean, Christopher Bell or John Hunter Nemechek really doing a lot with very little on that Front Row Motorsports team. Really proud of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of credit that's got to go to driver there, because I think we've seen a lot of different guys go through that car and be an average driver. But I think we've seen John Hunter Nemechek actually get up there. And, I mean, I'm not saying he's challenging for wins yet, but he's consistently running in the top 10.
It's pretty darn impressive what he's been doing. So I will give him that. There's your top 20, Jeff. We're now into at least Bristol. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more about some of the odds. And I think you and I both, there's some fun people here that we get to talk about. Like you said, Tyler Reddick, John Hunter. There's a lot of fun people that we don't normally get to talk about in these things. It's a bummer we don't have group matchups and head-to-heads because we're sitting here Thursday doing this.
Especially Bristol.
I know, that would have been fun. But they're going to be out there for you odds makers, for you bettors. They'll be there soon. We'll be back on Gaughan Racin in a second.
weekly NASCAR show. Live from the Sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
Welcome back in, everybody. Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Motley, and things are starting to get back to normal. Sally Gaughan was in here. They're working, trying to get plans to go.
I'm trying to learn
your
how to
phone
turn
ringer
the
won't go off.
I'm trying to figure out how to turn the volume off.
Welcome to two professionals trying to do a radio and television show. Two guys that have no clue what they're doing. Thank God for the guys behind the hockey glass at the VSiN studio.
I don't even know how to turn the volume off on my cell phone, much less host a radio show.
Let's get into what we came here to talk about, Mr. Motley. That is the Bristol race number 1. Sunday's race.
Racing the way it ought to be.
Racing the way it ought to be at the Roman Coliseum. I love Bristol, man. But to win the race, let's get right into the odds to win the race. Now, this is something that could be a lot of fun here. If we just talked a lot about Matt DiBenedetto and, had the race won the last time we were here in the fall. So,
second place finisher, and he's in a better race car
than he was last year.
By
far. So this could be good.
I'm just saying.
We're starting off the lead. Kyle Busch, once again, heads our way at plus 400. He is the leader in the clubhouse. Always deservedly so every week for him. Joey Logano plus 650. Denny Hamlin plus 800. Right alongside Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. all at 800s. Chase Elliott, hottest guy in the sport. Just talked about him. Plus 900. Brad K, 13-1. Brad used to own this place. So did Kurt Busch at 14-1. Double digits for them.
And Brad's going to roll off first, so he's going to be able to avoid any early trouble.
Yep. Brian Blaney, 18-1. Blaney also been very hot over at the Penske team and good at Bristol. Alex Bowman, Clint Boyer, Jimmy Johnson, all at 20-1s. Clint Boyer, 22 with Eric Jones there. Matt Kenseth,
How come
28.
Clint's at 20-1 and 22-1?
No, Clint Boyer and Eric Jones both at 22-1.
Clint Boyer at 20-1, and then Clint Boyer at 22-1. We
got
him twice.
Well, he's not twice on the screen. Oh, he is twice on the screen.
Yes, he's twice on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
The Clint Boyer's been cloned, ladies.
Clint Boyer has 2 odds. I'll take the 22-1 personally on the ones I'm reading.
We'll take the better odd.
I'll take the better odd for me. So that's your front half of those. But if we get a little deeper into this, which was not on those first 2 reads, we get to the guy I want to talk about, which is Matt DiBenedetto, 40-1 to win this race.
And that's kind of what I was saying. He's in a better car this year. And look, he was the class of the field in the night race back in August. So if you want to take a flyer.
I don't think it's a big flyer. That's my point.
Well, I'm just talking about because the odds are so high. I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, bet $10, you win 400.
Listen, Matt DiBenedetto at 40-1 to win Bristol. He was phenomenal the last time they were there. He's in a great race car with a team that knows how to get it done there. Joey Logano and Brad Kay are awesome at this track. I love that number for Matt DiBenedetto.
Well, and I tell you, even beyond that, I like seeing some long numbers on a Ryan Newman at 66-1 and Austin Dillon at 80-1. I mean,
and Tyler Reddick right there with him at the same thing at 80-1. They've been running great.
And you never know at Bristol. I mean, you can get an upset at Bristol if everything falls your way. Even Ricky Stenhouse Jr. we've seen run well at Bristol before, and he's 40-1. So I think even going all the way down from Kyle Busch down, we don't see Kyle Busch at plus 150 or plus 200. I mean, he's the favorite at plus 400. I mean, there's money to be won.
Still a good number. I mean, Kyle Busch plus 400. There's been weeks, Jeff, that we had him to win a race at plus 250.
Well, think about this.
Win a race.
Go bet Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, and Kevin Harvick. Put $10 on all of them. Unless Kyle Busch wins, you're going to win money.
And you still covered yourself.
You covered yourself. Kyle wins.
No, it definitely is. Bristol is. But now, Matt DiBenedetto is really strong. Kurt Busch, really strong. I'm looking at last 10 races for guys. Kurt Busch, last 10 races, 5 top 10s.
Well, he knows his way to victory lane.
His last 3.
He's been there a few times.
His last 3 races, 1st, 2nd, and 9th. So Kurt Busch at 14-1 is a great number.
You think he and Kyle might have the most wins for brothers there, unless Darrell has won more than either one of them.
I don't know.
You count Darrell and Michael, but it's pretty interesting.
Well, it'd have to be all Darrell.
That's what I mean. Michael never won there. I'm just saying it's kind of like the old Hank Aaron and Tommy Aaron combined for the most home runs among brothers in baseball.
That's so mean. And here's another one: Ryan Blaney, 7th, 4th, and 10th in his last 3 races. These are guys that have 18-1, nice strong odds to get some, the bettors some money back. And I'm trying to find out Alex Bowman to get to him before we break. 6 races, 2 top 10s, a 5th and an 8th in the middle, and then a couple bad races since then. But all these are numbers that are really strong for guys. I think you could have a lot of fun and hedging bets. We only have DraftKings top 3 and win to talk about this week, not group matchups. You could do a lot hedging off of these.
Oh, absolutely. And I think once people do get the chance to see these group matchups, I think there's going to be a lot of fun to be had there. I mean, there's no question that's going to be out there.
And I'm kind of going back and forth. By the way, folks, Isaiah this week didn't make me feel like a 44-year-old man. He actually made print that you could read.
That you can read. There you go.
Thank you, Isaiah. Get to make fun of me last week for, not being able to read the print. Now I can read it. All right, we got through the odds to win the race. We're going to talk about the odds in the DraftKings top 3 when we come back, and then more on Gaughan Racing.
Welcome back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
Welcome back in, everybody. Brendan Gaughan still here with you with the fabulous and bearded Mr. Jeff Motley. Anybody that watches the show often or knows me at all knows that normally these roles are reversed.
I just thought maybe people get confused and not know who's who.
Yeah, but, everybody, I have to be clean shaven right now, and Mr. Motley's.
Why do you have to be clean shaven right now?
Well, because I actually have to work right now. Remember, I'm not just race car driver anymore. I got fired, and now I got to work places, and I'm here all the time with Dad trying to make plans for this place, and we have a policy here. So, although I do have a mullet right now, I need to get cut.
And you get to wear a ball cap to work, though.
Well, that's me. You know me. I'm a billboard. That's what I've been paid to do my whole life.
I've seen you without a ball cap. I'm glad you're wearing one.
Well, right now, I mean, I could probably do cornrows again. It's awful. Thank God barbershops are open.
I swear,
for those on VSiN watching
the people who are listening on the radio really miss out.
So you got to get the VSiN subscription because you're missing out on great television right here for two guys.
And we even put the show goes up on YouTube as well. So.
Does it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to what we're being paid to do, or not being paid to talk about, but like to talk about. That is the odds for the top 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Love you, Mr. Musburger. Odds for top 3. DraftKings top 3.
We want to talk about people who can get paid.
We want to talk about people that can make money and cash a ticket.
Right.
We're going to talk about top 3. And right off the top, we're going to talk about a guy that basically is a lot of times in the DraftKings top 3 negative at a plus 110. Kyle Busch, plus 110. Joey Logano, plus 180. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex, all at plus 225. You realize I just named Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and Chase Elliott, and Kevin Harvick. Plus 225.
Yeah, I don't really necessarily get too excited about the numbers on Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, but I tell you, to see those 3 guys,
Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr.
and Brad Keselowski at plus 350. I think that's and right again. I want to see Chase Elliott run well at Bristol. Like, I agree, he's the hottest guy out there, and let's see if his racing at Darlington and Charlotte can carry over to a half-mile bull ring like Bristol. But you're right, that's some pretty big names. And you've got to believe that some of those guys are going to come in the top 3.
So Chase Elliott, 250, Brad K, 350, Kurt Busch, 400, Ryan Blaney, 450, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson at 500, Clint Boyer, only once this time, at 550 with Eric Jones, Matt Kenseth, 700, William Byron, 750, Eric Almirola, 800. Now we're getting into people that I think that we just talked about in the last segment. Matt DiBenedetto, 10-1, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 10-1, Christopher Bell, 14 with Ryan Newman, 14-1. Cole Custer, 16. Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick all there at 16-1. There are a couple guys on long shots on the top 3 that really could not be there.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you think Christopher Bell is the favorite among all the rookies? And by the way, we talked earlier about John Hunter Nemechek, 100-1, and Christopher Bell is 14-1.
So, now, Christopher Bell's never been there in a Cup car. I mean, but he's done really amazing things in Xfinity cars.
Well, but he's done that in every racetrack he's gone to, and for whatever reason, they've been really, really struggling. Now, he ran a little better at Charlotte. In fact, I think one of the races, I think he might have been the top finishing rookie.
He did, Coke 600.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, if you found a prop somewhere that talked about rookie to win the race, I wouldn't, even though the DraftKings has him top 3 favorite, I wouldn't put him as the favorite.
No, I would not either. I mean, I think right now, to me, Tyler Reddick is the most impressive rookie that I've seen out there. And I think a lot of people may have not really had firm belief in the car.
In the RC organization.
In the RCR
in the Chevy and
cars.
RCRs.
I think maybe what Tyler Reddick's done has probably upped Austin Dillon's game a bit. I think we've seen Austin Dillon running a little bit better since we came back from the break. And I think if you're Austin, you look over there and you got a rookie teammate who's been out running you every week.
Butt. You've got some stuff to answer to.
Exactly. It's time
Lucy, you got some
to get up on the wheel and go. And you got to explain to Grandpa why this guy's out running.
And Tyler's putting some pressure on. I like it. I like all. Once again, I'm biased. I'm a bad radio host. I show bias. But now we're talking about some of those guys that are favorites. We talk about Martin Truex Jr. The last 2 years, I mean, Martin Truex Jr. is in the conversation every week, right?
Every week, no matter where we go.
Okay. Bristol, 13th, 17th, 30th, 21st.
Wow. Well, you'll be happy to know I won't be picking him in the next segment anyway. But
I'm just trying to talk to you.
That actually surprises me a little bit.
But you want to know what also surprises me looking at stats? We all talk about how Brad Keselowski early on at Penske was phenomenal at Bristol. His last races, he got 3rd in the fall behind Denny and Matt DiBenedetto. 18th, 16th, 23rd, 29th, 34th, 33rd, and 18th.
I'd like to know what befell him in some of those races.
I don't know. And all of them are running.
Yeah, but running doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, you can get into an accident.
4 of them are
35
lead lap
laps
finishes.
in the pits, pulling a fender off or something at Bristol. But
1 lap down, 3 laps down. So that's not wrecks. That's just, he's not the same as he was. So, I mean, I'm not as high on a Martin Truex or a Brad K in there, but a Kevin Harvick at that number. Kevin Harvick, 7 top 10s last 10 races, an 8th, a 13th, a 6th. Maybe not as strong as we see. Or sorry, that was his qualifying. 39. He wrecked at the last one. 13, 10, 7, 8, 1 a couple of years ago.
I think, every year you go to a place like Bristol, Kevin Harvick's going to be a factor. There's no question. I mean, I still think when you go to Bristol, it goes through Kyle Busch. I know
3 wins in the last 9 races. Heck yeah.
And I know he hasn't been quite as strong this year, but I mean, don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion, and certainly don't underestimate anybody whose last name is Busch at Bristol.
At Bristol. Well, and Kurt Busch is 400, I mean, in the top 3. So to me, what I look at is you take those guys we're talking about and you combine that. Right now, we only have 2 sets of odds to look at, right, Jeff? We have to win a race and we have the DraftKings top 3. You could find a way to get Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, the big names of the sport. You could find a way to get them all and win 4 of 5 bets.
Absolutely.
If you played this right.
And I think that's what you've got to do. I think you really, but look, we know some people are going to play this. We know some people are going to wait on the groups and some of the driver head-to-heads.
Which you should.
But I agree with you. But I think when you see the favorite to win the race is plus 400, but then the next guy is plus 650. And then you've got some really, really big name guys at plus 800. I mean, it's kind of hard not to want to go and bet several guys in that deal. Maybe you leave Kyle Busch out and you bet the next 4.
Bet Kyle Busch to win the race and then take, a couple guys in the top 3 that you think are going to be there. I mean, there are ways to do this that
or maybe you do 2 bets. You bet 1 bet straight up on Kyle Busch to win the race, and then you go and you make a bet on all 4 of those other guys. I mean, the worst comes to worst. I mean, Kyle wins, you lose $10.
There you go.
I mean, and I'm just saying, if you make a $10 bet, you might make a $100 bet or whatever you do. But
I mean, and I'm still throwing a Matt DiBenedetto in there at a 10-1 is on a DraftKings top 3 that I'm going timeout. And matter of fact, I'm getting an updated odd right now. Isaiah throwing it up on the VSiN screen. He's plus 800 now. He's been bet down because what we've been talking about. Matt, the bettor is going to get on that. You want that right now, you need to jump on DiBenedetto. It's going to go down in the DraftKings top 3 a ton.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that he's 10-1 in the top 3, and I'm shocked that he's 40-1 to win the race.
Well, when we come back, we don't have groups, but we'll give you more on Gaughan Racing.
NASCAR Show, live from the Sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
Quick Picks, the real money parlay props game based on daily fantasy scoring, has your favorite NASCAR drivers and head-to-head matchups in this week's races. And VSiN customers can now play Quick Picks through this special offer. Get a 100% automatic deposit bonus up to $100 when you sign up for a new Quick Picks account. Sign up now at quickpicks.com/VSiN bonus. Then select the ones you think will finish higher with the higher fantasy point totals. Pick between 3 and 10. Then place your bet between 10 cents and $100. If all your picks are right, you win. The UFC and PGA and Major League Baseball are coming soon. Available in 27 states and D.C. Must be at least 21 years of age. Go to quickpicks.com/VSiN bonus and start playing Quick Picks now. All right, guys. Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Motley, back here on Gaughan Racing. Doing my best Brent Musburger impersonation there, trying to read these things. How am I doing?
Doing really well. Better than having to read the Manscaped one.
No, I want the Manscaped. We need to get a sponsor of that. I want to read that on air. I have the best time doing that. Quick Picks.
Call
Love
the
the Quick Picks
team.
one.
Call the sales team.
I appreciate the Quick Picks one. I mean, we got something to talk about for them, so that's nice. You know, they got, and if
Couple of tongue twisters in there. It was actually pretty impressive.
that's not too bad. UFC and PGA coming on that, which, you know, they're the other sports active at the moment, so a lot of action going on that.
Then we did get NASCAR as part of that read.
It is. It says, but that's why
I heard
it's NASCAR.
UFC and PGA.
Yeah, that's
and
who's
MLB.
coming soon. That's who's coming soon.
Well,
But right
UFC's
now,
been on for a while.
right now, they've got NASCAR going.
And there was betting on that Tiger, Phil, Peyton, Tom Brady thing, too.
Did you see the Tom Brady throwing shade on Charles Barkley in that deal, by the way?
Justin Thomas threw the shade on Charles Barkley.
Yeah, but no, Tom Brady said, I thought this was called the Champions, a Champions event, and looked at Charles Barkley. It was like,
Yeah, well,
ooh.
when Justin Thomas called him a
Well,
fat, you know what?
listen,
you know.
the shade was
This a
Tom
family
Brady.
show
The
here?
shade was, as Barkley was saying, he was going to give Brady strokes, and then Brady sunk that shot.
From the fairway
Yeah.
or whatever.
And then he said, hey, this is called the Champions event. What are you doing here? That was tough.
I think he said, suck that, Chuck.
Well, he did say that too. All right, back to NASCAR racing, back to what we're here for. We've talked about the odds to win the race, the odds top 3 for the Bristol Superheroes. What is it? Superheroes 300 or something like that? 500?
Well,
Superheroes 500. Supermarket Heroes 500. Because Food Lion
it's
sponsored it.
Food City.
Food City.
Food City, a big sponsor out of Bristol.
Been there forever. Love those guys. Used to love doing stuff
Probably
for them.
about between them and Coca-Cola,
Longest
maybe
two
about the
sponsors in this
longest
sport.
running cup sponsors in the sport.
They have to be. So we know every week we do a few picks here and there on what we do with Gaughan Racing. We have our little league. We have suspended the league momentarily because there's too many goofy things. We're not getting all the odds. This week, fortunately, we only have one cup race. So next week for Atlanta, we'll be able to hopefully have a normal scenario where we can do all these things. And we don't have to worry about missing a Thursday race with rain and doing this on Friday. I said Thursday a couple times during the show because normally we do.
Well, it's kind of it's exact. It's the whole thing's weird. I mean,
Friday.
I think for the last 2.5 months, no one has known what day it was. So it's no big deal that we don't know what day we're doing.
And we're weird anyway, so it all kind of works in our favor. So, with no further ado, we will do our picks this week, and we always lead off in an order that we did the last week, and we were absolutely stellar picking the Coca-Cola 600, with all three of us going 0 for 15.
I was feeling so good about my Alex Bowman top 3 on that restart when he restarted third with 2 laps to go, and I look up and he finished 20th. I'm like, what?
And then
Isaiah.
I've been making fun of Isaiah incessantly for taking over for Ann and putting the producer's role into the toilet in the league. But you had the wrong day, Isaiah.
I was off by a few days. What can I say?
So close, though. So
Hey,
close.
It doesn't matter, though. Like,
And I have to say something. You know, Isaiah had chased a win, and he was probably counting that he was going to win with like 3 to go in the Coke 600. I was actually
He had the text almost. He probably had the phone like text almost made to it.
Well, and I was actually watching the race with a friend of mine who watched our show last week, and she says, has Isaiah texted you yet? And I said, I hope he's smart enough not to early
text me
chirp.
yet.
No early chirping. And sure enough, as soon as that happened, she's like, okay, I see what you mean now.
So Isaiah, so close yet so far. But please lead us off this week on your picks. For
all
Gaughan
right.
Racing.
So we're going to go with a similar strategy as last week.
Okay.
I've got 3 top 3s. So to start it out, I've got Martin Truex Jr. at plus 225.
After all that stats I just gave you.
Look, Bristol, I think qualifying match. Now, with no real qualifying, going off a draw.
Bucking the trend.
All right.
Yeah, hey, look, I went iRacing trend with William Byron a few weeks ago. Didn't work, but, I'm not just going to conform to all these numbers. Data means nothing. As David Fisdale once said, take that for data. So, you know what? Who cares? Kurt Busch at plus 400. And then finally, Eric Almirola at plus 800. So that's for top 3. And then to win the race, we have Kevin Harvick at plus 800. I feel like he'll have a strong weekend again. And then I'm going to go with the back-to-back win. I think it's a little much to go maybe 4 straight. Could be wins for Chase Elliott. But him at plus 900, I think, are good odds.
I can't knock that. I can't knock some of those. I can knock a couple of them, but, I can't knock all of them. So we shall see how he does in the league this weekend. Mr. Jeff Motley, since we can go in the order that we did the last time that we actually won a bet, which was the Darlington weeks. And I'm not going to point out that, I kicked everybody's butt at Darlington, but I kicked everybody's butt at
Because you picked a race winner.
I'm just saying.
Which is good for you.
I picked a 4-man horse race.
Well, this is the perils of actually not. One good thing about finishing last is I could have picked first, and then Isaiah would have either had to pick the same driver as I did, or Isaiah would have gone a different way. I am not going to go a different way. I'm going to stick to what I wrote down during the break and what I've been picking. So I'm going 3 race winners and 2 top 3 guys this week. I'm going Kyle Busch to win at plus 400. I think this is where he gets his first win of the season. I really do. Plus 400 is kind of a hard number for me to let go on Kyle Busch. But then I'm going with Isaiah on the other 2 race wins. I got Kevin Harvick at plus 800, and I'm going to go with your theory on Uncle Mo, momentum for Chase Elliott at plus 900. I think if he's going to break through, this is an opportunity. And then my other 2 picks going over to the top 3, I'm going to go Ryan Blaney at plus 450 for a top 3 pick. And Brendan, I know that you and I probably will go the same on this one, but my man Matty D at 10-1. So hey, see, it sounds like the perils of you picking last and finishing first are raising their head now.
I really don't like this now.
Because now, first.
What? But give it. Oh.
So you want to pick all the same ones I've got? Is that what you're getting ready?
Well, listen,
keep in mind,
I had these marked. These hash marks have been on this paper since I was sitting outside talking to Isaiah.
Mine too. If I need to hold them up, mine too. But this is a problem we have when we don't have the group picks and the driver head-to-heads because we don't have as many to pick from.
Listen, put your paperwork down. Don't make me bring Ann back. Is he even old enough to bet?
I didn't know he was old enough to walk in the casino.
Look at him on camera. It looks like he's barely even old enough to bet here.
He's got such a baby face. And you know what? You're going to be glad you have that baby face when you get older. And
you look like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I'm a little upset, a little miffed at the moment because I like to be differentiated. But the problem is we've given, I think, what are the best picks that we have talked about. Differentiated, yes, is a word.
You learned that at Georgetown?
Differentiated is a word. You didn't learn that with the
I know
Biggie's
differentiate.
Turncoat. The crazy gobbler turkey that is your Hokie, whatever the hell that is.
Hokie and a Hoya. We don't really know what either one of them are, do we?
I do. I know what my Hoya is.
All right, whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I had. I had Kyle Busch to win, and I had Chase Elliott to win because I liked both of those picks. And I had Kevin Harvick top 3. I had Ryan Blaney top 3, and I had Matt DiBenedetto.
Well, nobody else is taking Kevin Harvick in the top 5, so you can take Kevin Harvick
top 3.
in the top 5.
Top 3.
Top 3, excuse me.
Yeah, but Blaney, DiBenedetto, Busch, and Chase Elliott, we're too similar. I got to go something different now. And I have less than 3 minutes now to figure out what I want to pick.
And if you don't win and we do, you're going to blame it on us. But
absolutely.
But you can't do that because you won the last time, and
listen,
that's why you're picking
that's
last.
Like Michael Gaughan. When the decisions are great, it's all his in this place. And when they don't work, it was somebody else, and he acts like they didn't happen.
Success has many fathers. Failure is an orphan. Always remember that.
I've never heard that one. I'm using that with my dad. I reminded him of Fever Nightclub the other night, and he said, what? Okay, so I'm going to change up a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. I think Kyle Busch has not been running well enough, even though he is the favorite at 400. I'm going to take him off of my list. I am keeping Chase Elliott, though, at plus 900. I do think he is just way too strong of a favorite there to win that race. And I'm going to go super long shot to win Matt DiBenedetto 40-1. I'm going to put all the eggs in Matt DiBenedetto to win. You guys are hedging your bet saying he's only going to do top 3. I'm going all the way to the W. So Matt DiBenedetto to win and Chase Elliott to win. In top 3, I'm going to stick with Kevin Harvick at plus 225 because I like that too much. I'm going to go with Kurt Busch top 3 instead of Ryan Blaney, even though I want Ryan Blaney. And then I'm going to keep Ryan Blaney. I'm going to go Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, and Kevin Harvick top 3. Those are my now differentiated picks to get off of you two slugs.
So you could win with Kevin Harvick finishing top 3 or Matty D winning the race because no one has those picks.
I want Matt DiBenedetto to be like nowhere near the top 3 or to win. That's it. If he gets top 3, I'm going to be mad at both of you.
Sorry. I apologize.
I just don't like you guys.
This is the way the rules have been since we've been picking for we're in our 3rd year.
Yeah, I know, but that was way too similar. We didn't have all the group matchups to get to and all those things to differentiate a little bit. And I'm using that word all the time now just to upset you. Well,
differentiate, I know. I just didn't know differentiated. I didn't know we'd made a verb.
You can make it plural. You can verb it.
All right.
Verb it. So that is Gaughan Racing for this week. To the bettors at home, remember, take a peek. The what he calls the group matchups and the head-to-heads will be coming out probably later today. I don't know if I'm allowed to say certain apps or anything like that, but check your local app, what state you're in. Check some of the ones that you can find.
And this is a full-on race at Bristol. It's going to be the full 500 laps. It's not going to be a short race like what we saw at Charlotte on Thursday night. So it's going to be
this is regular race.
A regular Bristol race.
The only thing they did was they drew for qualifying. We talked about that. So those things are all normal.
No practice or qualifying.
Nope. And no Wednesday Cup race this week. We have a Monday Xfinity race, but no Wednesday Cup race. So normal week. We get everything right this week. We get to go back to normal next week on Gaughan Racing. Maybe have some head-to-heads, be able to talk about Atlanta. So that's kind of exciting. Mr. Motley, I appreciate you being here. Exciting for Vegas. We'll be open by the time we talk again.
Yes, the whole city. I'm just looking forward to having people behind us next week on the show in the sports book. Hopefully they're walking around.
So am I. So with that, Gaughan Racing, thank you guys for tuning in this week for Bristol. We're going to have fun watching that race. You guys have fun at home, and we'll see you next week when the casinos are open. Gaughan Racing.